Sorry about that. Looks like you're going to get another stream this morning. I ran into another topic that we need to look at. It's going to be video number 3 in the series, and essentially it looks at the complete structure of an HTML tag, also the properties that can be attached to an HTML tag. Basically, there are things that you can add to the tag that make it that modify it, that make it different. So we're going to look at a full, complete HTML tag and the different things that we can do to it. So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, so what we're looking at right now is a paragraph tag, and we've seen the paragraph tag before. It's just the letter P, and its effect is to separate out text as a paragraph. Basically what it does is it says, okay, the text above and the text below, I'm going to separate you out from the paragraph, and we're going to call this a paragraph in and of itself. So we surround our groups of lines of text in paragraph tags, and we can divide the page up into paragraphs and make the page look more like a written or printed page. So what we're looking at right now is a basically just an on-screen whiteboard, but this outlook, or this design, this outline, basically this design is what an entire paragraph tag would be. So we start off with the main tag, and that's the letter P. That stands for paragraph, and basically that is the name of the element. Remember, we have brackets, and we have the name of the element, and then between the opening and the closing bracket we have the content. And so that's what we have here. We have the opening paragraph tag, which is bracket, and then we have the name of the tag here, this letter P, that tells us it's a paragraph tag, closing bracket, and then we have the content. This is the information that allows us to, or this is what's going to be affected by the tags. And then finally we have the closing brackets and closing tag, and that is designated with this little / here. So those are the parts of the tag that you're used to seeing. Now let's look at an attribute. And basically an attribute is some part of the tag that can be modified. Sometimes the modifications are visible, sometimes they're not. Attributes are made up of the attribute itself, attribute name, and then the attribute value. This is the attribute, and this is what the value that was assigned to. For example, if we wanted to do font size, or we wanted to do font, and then we come over here, the value of the font could be Arial or Times New Roman or something like that. Attributes are not nearly as important as they once were. Once upon a time, the attributes were very important. Once upon a time, that's how we modified the look of tags. But now, because we can use so much in cascading style sheets, attributes are maybe not as important as they were. But we're going to look at them anyway because they are still, especially in things like image tags and anchor tags, they're really important. In images, we can control the size and orientation of the image. In anchor tags, we can control whether the new web page pops up in a new page, or if it pops up on the same page, or what it does. So there are a lot of things we can still do with attributes. So the first one we're going to look at here in the paragraph, this is the language attribute. The name of the attribute is language. Lang stands for language. And essentially what it is it's an attribute that tells us what language the text of the paragraph is in. In this case, it's English-US. It could be English-UK. It could be Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, any language. There are abbreviations for all those, and that information can be found in the World Wide Web Consortium school page. So if you're curious as to what all that can be, it can be that. How it affects the paragraph, it affects it by controlling the way that some things are punctuated, some things are formatted. It also tells things like robots and spiders. It tells them what language that paragraph is written in. Essentially, it's a label. So we've got the name of the tag, once again, the element name or the tag name. They call them elements. That an element, what they're saying here is an element is an opening and a closing tag. So essentially an HTML element is a pair of tags. It's an opening tag, including its attributes, and a closing tag. Attributes are only found in the opening tag. You won't ever find attributes in a closing tag. So the start tag or the opening tag, you have the tag name, attribute, and value, then the bracket, and then the content between the two tags is what's affected by this. So this word content, anything else that's placed here, would be considered to be in the English language, or at least it's labeled as being in the English language. And then finally the closing tag, designated by its /. So that is exactly how an HTML element would appear. That's how the tags are set up with their attributes. This is what a full tag looks like. Now, is a tag necessary? No. As you've seen in some of the other work that we've done, a tag is not necessary. Let's go ahead and go to CodePen really quickly. And let's go back to our pen that we were looking at earlier. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, and into this paragraph tag, I'm going to add the attribute language, just like we have in our diagram here. So let's go back and look. So what we do is we we make a space after the name of the paragraph tag. We're going to put in lang equals, and then in quotes, we're going to put in ing -us. Always the attributes are values. If there's a value, whether it's CSS or attribute value or whatever, the value is surrounded in double quotes. So you'll have language equals English US, and notice there's not a space between the equal sign and any of the surrounding text. So we don't put a space in there. So I'm going to do lang equals NUS. So let's come up here. I put a space after that. Lang, no space, equal sign, EN-US. So I've established what text, or what language rather, this first paragraph is in. That's just this information up to this first closing tag. Now, anything after that, this paragraph, for example, doesn't have a language attribute. Does it matter? No, other than the fact that this first paragraph is specifically set up to be and specifically labeled to be in the English language, American style, and this is not specified at all. That's the only difference. That is this language tag. Well, let's go ahead. I'll tell you another. Let's go ahead and look it up. Now, here's a good way to learn. This is a good learning experience. All right, so we're going to do HTML tag, attribute, lang. Let's just see what effect it has. All right, the global language attribute. It specifies the language of the element's content. Now, it does not translate. It does not do anything like that, but it does label that content. Of course, it's supported by all the popular browsers, and the layout is element, lang equals, and then language code. The language code, there are many, and you can see that here. If you click on this link, you can see all the various language codes. Afrikaans is AF, Avaric is AV, Basque is EU, Chinese simplified is Hans and Hant. That's simplified and traditional for Chinese. Cornish is KW. You get the idea. So there are places that you can find these. Is it necessary to put this into every paragraph? No, it's not. Is it a good practice to? It absolutely is. If you want your HTML to pass the World Wide Web Consortium standards, then you need to specify. Now, you can specify per paragraph, or you can specify in the top of the document. You can set the document's default language to English. Both of those things will work. Then if you have, like for example, this paragraph here, ceci est un paragraphe, you can specify that as French, and that will only count for that one paragraph. So that is ideally how you would do it. Once again, it really does not have an effect other than to label the paragraph. So that is one attribute. There are a great many. Let's see for the paragraph tag. Let's just go and look at a list of the attributes for a paragraph tag. Oops. Let's see what some of those. All right, so we got the P tag. Let's look at some attributes. Global attributes. And event attributes. So global attributes are attributes that are can be used in all HTML elements, and one of those you're going to find down here is language. That's a global attribute. That means you can put this into a div or to a H1 or to a paragraph or whatever. You can make it draggable. You can set text direction. There's a lot of things that you can put in as an attribute. Those are global attributes. Let's look at some event attributes now. This is more specific to the paragraph tag. You can set up a script to be run after a document is printed, before it's printed. If there's an error in the document, when the page loads, all these things can be added to the paragraph tag, and they will have an effect. They basically, what they're building is events for programming. So like on unload, this event would fire when a page is unloaded. When you close the browser window, it would do something. You can make the page do some kind of computer operation before the window was closed. When it resizes, this creates an event on a resize where you can affect using JavaScript or using some other scripting language. What you would basically use this for is to move the text around when a page is resized, because when you resize a page, sometimes the text makes a mess. Sometimes it's no longer readable, or your format, the way that you have your paragraphs laid out, is no longer effective when you make the page smaller or larger. And so you would set up this event, you would set up this attribute in your paragraph, and then that paragraph maybe would change font or would change font size. So that's what these are. These are basically programming events, and you put these into the body tag, and then it's an event triggered by the activity that you're doing to the page. So that's why you would have something like this, especially since CSS has come on the scene. Nowadays, you don't really need to use tags or attributes to modify like color, font face, whether it's bold or not. You don't really use those tags anymore. Once upon a time you did, but nowadays CSS is just a lot easier. You don't use style information in attributes because style should be separated into a separate document. Once upon a time, that was not the case. It is now. However, in things like for an image, for the picture tag, for the image tag, let's go back and look at image. There are a lot of attributes that are still viable. For example, attributes. The alt tag, what that does is allows you to specify some text to describe the image for people that are using a screen reader. If they are sight challenged, then they can use a screen reader, and this will read out a description. This tag, you can put in a description of the picture if it's decorative or if it's a diagram or whatever. Height and particularly height and width are important because you can specify the height that the picture displays at. Now, it doesn't change the size of the picture. It changes the size of it displaying in the page. So you can have a giant picture and shrink it down to 100 pixels by 100 pixels using the height and the width. So these are very important tags here. Is an image map. You can specify whether to load the image first or wait till after other events have happened. Basically, these are the different things that you can do with, these are event attributes, by the way. Or pardon me, these are regular attributes. Global attributes, we've already looked at those. They're the same for everything. You can also use a language tag here. You can use different global tags that we looked at, and you can also use the event tags. You can set up an event for a picture to resize after a page has been resized. There's lots of things that you can do. If you want an example of what they look like here, these are the different events and the different tags that are being used. You notice that the height and the width are all specified here. Alt smiley face means that if a text reader were to come across this picture, it would say smiley face to the person that was using that. So all these things can be affected with attributes. Once again, attributes are not necessary, but they are still very valuable. We're going to look at anchor tags and picture tags in detail a little more later, but for right now, just know that there are attributes out there that can affect how the tags behave. So here we are, once again, just to kind of review. We'll go back over it. The element of an HTML on an HTML element is considered to be the opening tag and the closing tag. So, excuse me. So we have both tags make up the element. The start tag, or the opening tag, is a bracket tag name, and then if there's an attribute, it'll be in there. The content is what's between the two tags. So opening tag, content, closing tag. The opening tag, or pardon me, the content is what's affected by the tags. The only effect that this tag will have is on the things between the opening and closing part. And then of course we have the attribute here, and we have the attribute name is the name of the attribute, and the attribute value is the value that we assign to that name. So that should pretty well cover HTML tags. That should pretty well give you a good grounding into what the tags are. Our next lessons are going to focus on using the tags to design pages, to enter elements into pages like pictures and links and things like that. But for right now, you should be fairly comfortable with what an HTML tag is. Element is both tags, opening tag, closing tag, and the content between the tags. And so you should be pretty well ready to start building your own page. All right, that's all the time I have right now. Hopefully this will be helpful. And like I say, the next lesson will involve actually designing a page. We're going to look at structural things like paragraphs, divisions, and spans, the different pieces that you can use, different text containers. So we're going to contain text and then arrange it on a page so that it looks nice. And we'll also start incorporating style sheet information as well, because you really can't learn HTML without learning CSS, especially nowadays. There's really no point in HTML without CSS, because otherwise what you're going to have is what we have here. You're going to have black and white text lined along the left side of the page. And until you start adding some style to it, that's all you're ever going to have. So we need to be able to arrange pictures and links and text and make them lay out like we would be laying out a print document. And so that is where we're going with that. Oops, I didn't even show you that, did I? That's weird. Anyway, if you don't use style information, like I was saying, you're going to have black and white text laid out along the left-hand margin, and that's all you're ever going to have. Oh, that was pretty wacky. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have paid attention a little better. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day. I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and I will see you around. Have a good day.